Welcome once again to the Liberty Lounge. I'm Johnny B, and we are in Nashville, Tennessee. How fun is that? The three of us have been together in a lot of states. First time we've ever been to Tennessee, and this is awesome. The Armed Scholar, Anthony, right there. It is his first trip to Tennessee. How exciting is that? On my left is Jared of Guns and Gadgets. We are in an Airbnb, and they don't always have the exact glasses, so we are drinking Airbnb glasses. Cheers, fellas.
Some Kentucky bourbon, boys.
Mine's short and fat.
How long did it take to get your visa to get out of California?
They don't know. They don't know I left.
He'll be back home by the time this is actually seen in public.
To leave.
What's your first impression of the South? I know you've been around Southerners. You've been out here. You've lived on the East Coast. You're not a noob to all of this, but first time in Tennessee, first impression.
I mean, I've only spent a little bit of time downtown and then here when we're driving and lunch. I like it. It reminds me a lot of Pennsylvania during the good times of Pennsylvania when the summer. And
they're already typing.
Yeah, they're typing away.
Everybody knows in Pennsylvania when the snow comes. It's miserable. That's why you got out of Mass.
Yes, that and taxes and communism.
Yeah.
Summertime in a lot of places in America feels and seems really similar. I lived in Vermont for a time, and there's a moment, like 2 weeks in like July, where it's just like East Tennessee up there. And it's only 2 weeks, but it's a lot like other places in the country.
Cicadas.
We are in the
cicadas again.
They're so loud.
They're so loud right now.
Cicadas. We were driving down the interstate, and we could hear the cicadas outside. Absolutely hilarious. All right. We talked last week about trash guns and about good guns, and people got fired up about that, and that was a lot of fun.
Disrespect my BCA.
People were saying that we were
10,000 rounds through their BCAs. You know.
Do you believe it?
No,
not so much.
And I'm gonna test you guys. I already down the down low ordered a couple BCA uppers and be doing my own testing. So we'll find out. We'll find out real quick.
I could have just gave you 3.
For $2, I got 2 complete BCA uppers.
For those of you that missed last week's episode, we were talking about Bear Creek arsenals, and there's been some challenges and people saying that they're utter complete crap. Some of y'all said they're awesome, and so Anthony put his money where his mouth is. He's got some coming in the mail, and we'll see what happens. But how exciting is that? All right, something I've been thinking about, we've been talking about a little bit, and we sat out last night until midnight outside listening to the cicadas and enjoying a cigar. Things are bad, and we always say that groceries are bad. It's funny, about 6 months ago, I went to the grocery store. I'm a single dude, and I never think about grocery prices. I just get what I need and roll. And I went one day for lunch stuff to make one little small meal. I was like, $94. And I was like, something is going wrong in America. We're filling at the gas pump. Everybody, you know what I'm talking about.
He was making Wagyu for lunch.
I was making Wagyu for lunch. Well, I got a few breakfast things. You just throw a couple things in and it's expensive.
Couple Wagyu steaks for breakfast, as one does.
I try to have a good question, and this is where we go. Blame the whiskey. So things are bad, and people always are saying, hey, it's going to light off. Things are going to get bad. Things are going to go to the street. And we have a mutual friend who is ready for it. I won't say his name because of what this is. He is ready for it to light off in East Tennessee tomorrow. Yep. Jared, are we actually close? Are we really close to things lighting off in the street?
Well, I'll say we're closer than we've ever been in this country's history since the start of the revolution. Because if you follow history and love American history, there were a lot of parallels to what happened during that time, just before the revolution that led up to it, 1775 to 1776, that's happening now.
Give me an example.
The Declaration of Independence. Most of the things that we accused England of are happening right now by the president of the United States. And it's spiraling out of control. So we're closer, in my opinion, closer than we've ever been since the beginning of the country.
I guess the question I would have is, we talk about scale. So when you look at the incidents that really started the revolution, minor taxes kick things off.
Yeah.
At what scale do things have to happen now where it's the last straw? Because we're seeing things happen at scale right now that our founding fathers would have died 200 times over already to stop.
Scalps.
Yeah. So at what scale are we? And I guess that goes to Johnny's question. Are we at that scale already? Me personally, I don't know if we're that close. I think sometimes we see a lot on comment sections or internet fodder. People are saying,
people are that close.
Yeah, I think some
as a collective,
but I guess that's the question at scale. Are we there at scale yet?
No.
Well, for folks listening, what do you think? Let us know down below. But we have the ATF literally assassinating people because they make their own firearms, which has been totally legal and lawful since this country was before it was even created.
Expected of Americans.
Yes.
That is what in our fabric is the making of our own firearms.
And they kick a door in, shoot somebody in the head, and magically don't have the video footage. If that ever happened, 100 years ago, we wouldn't stand for it. So we are closer than we've ever been. I just think that, people are maybe fooling themselves, thinking that it's going to work its way out.
Two things. One, even here, we've got to be careful. Like there's certain keywords we can't say because of the powers that be on YouTube, and the government's very well aware of the potential that the American 3% have within them. Very well aware, probably more well aware than we are. Secondly, I don't think we're there. I think we are comfortable. I think things, as long as our batteries on our phones are charged as a whole, everybody, the batteries are charged. They got food in the fridge. And I know it's tough and I know people are struggling, but I don't know if people are desperate enough. For me, and we've talked about this off camera, is that it's going to be when people miss meals. And I know there's a lot of people starving in the streets now, but we got government programs. Anthony, how is it out west? How bad is it?
It's a lot different. Every time I come to a free state, and I know some people don't like certain terms like that, but there is a significant difference.
Is it palpable? Is a difference between your life day before yesterday and today?
Yeah.
Different?
So even just driving through my town, if I were to go to a Walmart or go to a restaurant like we did for lunch, the amount of homeless people you would see just everywhere, just panhandling and walking around like zombies. It's
all day, every day.
All day, every day. Even when I'm staying in downtown Nashville, I saw one homeless person.
Yeah, go down to the strip.
Well, I mean, yeah. But like where I was saying, if you were to go down to any downtown area in LA or San Francisco, there would be hordes, just zombie groups walking around. So it is significantly different. The culture's different. People are nicer here. People are out and about walking around. Even just in downtown Nashville, people are walking around. You don't see that in downtown LA. You will get stabbed. You will get robbed. You'll get robbed not doing anything in LA or San Francisco. So it's a lot different.
You breathing my oxygen?
Yeah, pretty much.
Breathing up my air.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a little bit with Johnny where I don't know if we're that close. I think there have been plenty of things that I could see that would have spurred a second civil war, if you want to call it that. But I don't know what the big thing, because everybody, when you reflect on the COOF era, the COVID era, whatever you want to call it, the fact that so many people went along with that, and I still hear, I've heard it multiple times, people say, I wish I could go back to those times where I got paid just sitting in my home watching Tiger King. The fact that there is that mentality still in the US,
communism,
that's scary. And it just means that maybe there's not a large enough group yet that's...
What's scarier, that communism statement or people watching Tiger King?
Yeah.
It's freaking awesome.
I'm never going to financially recover from this.
Y'all are not going to sit here at this brown table and disrespect the Tiger King. He is an American treasure. That was quality cinema. I can't believe he didn't win an Oscar. I am infuriated that you're disrespecting.
No, Carol Baskin.
Hey to all you cool cats and kittens out there. I'm Carol Baskin.
Killed her husband, whacked her.
So I think I've seen that. I've seen the memes. I've seen people talking about it. I've heard people talking about that. Oh, I wish I could go back. What is the genesis of that? If people are saying, I wish I could go back, and it's not that the government gave us $1,100. They didn't give us enough to care about that. I don't think that's even on my brain.
They didn't give you anything. They stole it from you. And gave you a portion back.
Yeah, true.
And they taxed you on that as income.
Yeah.
Why are people saying, I wish I could go back? What is in that statement?
I think it's escapism from people's actual day-to-day lives. I think there are a lot of people that, and this is no shade at anybody, but I think there are a lot of people who live their life day to day, hate their job, hate their life. And that year to 2 year period, like I'm reflecting on California, was this escapism where everybody just got to sit at home, do whatever they wanted to do, and didn't have to deal with the real world because the government said, hey, I'll take care of you. Sit at home, do whatever you want, watch Tiger King all day, I don't care. So I think there's a little bit of that. I think if people were living the way that they really wanted to live, maybe they wouldn't want the government to step into their actual life and disrupt their actual life in the way that we want to live. The fact that someone wants the government to step in and lock you in your home so you don't have to deal with your life is...
Well, the fact that people don't realize that those several rounds of stimulus checks have caused this inflation for a huge portion of it is just total detachment.
And it wasn't just the rounds of checks that they gave us. They gave the corporations this much. We only got this much. The corporations, the bailouts to their friends and to the lobbyists has destroyed our economy. Although this is the strongest economy in human history.
I've heard that from someone.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Some deranged lunatic.
Yeah. So we're assuming that there are a populace of people or group of people that do want those days back. How do we go forward with that? The idea, what you're saying, Anthony, is that, let the government take control of more, not necessarily a COVID era, but an area where we sit at home, the government takes care of stuff, and we don't have to deal with Monday through Friday bills.
And it was that whole movement too, where we saw that one Democratic presidential candidate who was saying, "Hey, I'm going to pay everybody $2,000 a month just for income, so you can cover your bills." And a lot of people jumped on board with that because they just wanted their basic necessities paid for by the government for them to step in. Didn't really think about the ramifications of that, so that they could. And the whole theory behind that was, okay, if you don't have to worry about your day-to-day bills, well, then you can go pursue whatever you want in life. But my guess perspective is people should be doing that anyways. And if you need the government to trigger that in your life, then we got some problems.
And that's like, I don't know, this is just me. I'm very passionate, as you guys both know, about what started our country and our forefathers and the heroes that started this. Just those statements alone are so un-American. We don't want government to do anything in our lives. The whole guise of this country was to have the federal government handle foreign commerce and things that we told them they could do, and none of anything else. And they have just gone so far from that. It's just infuriating. And it's an insult to the people who gave their lives and their fortunes and their families to secure individual liberties.
I think the idea, this is getting talked about. There's whispers right now about, what do they call it? The basic right to your basic needs being met. Like every person has a right. It's not in the Constitution, but it's the idea that mommy government is going to take care of everything. And there are so many people that will cheer for that. Now, it comes at a cost. It comes at a trade-off. If the government is going to give us our own day-to-day living and pay for everything, we have to give up freedom, liberty, privacy. And people will cheer for that. The French economic philosopher de Tocqueville, he said that moment, and y'all have heard this, the moment that a populace figures out that they can vote their way in to income from the greater largesse, that's a fancy word. Yes. As soon as they figure out they can take money from the government, they will only vote for taking money from the government. I remember when they were screaming in the streets, I got my Obama phone, I got my Obama phone. I don't want an Obama phone. And Anthony, I think you see more in your world, a little more, at least out in the open, people sucking and siphoning off the government titty. Yeah. And at what point do the three of us as men say, I'm not taking that?
I've never taken anything from the government as far as the Obama phone or they sent you the stimulus checks, but when I wouldn't take anything. We all run businesses. Yeah. I didn't ask for a single nickel for my business. Were our businesses, we all do stuff on the side too. Were they affected? Absolutely. But did I want the government to help me?
But how are we the bad guys because we want to be self-sufficient?
Well, we're not. But America seems to have forgotten.
Tell that to the White House.
Well, the White House, it's the most popular president in the history of the world. Have you ever heard that?
Most popular president in U.S. history.
Most votes ever. More votes than people. I don't know how they would do that, but it's just, I don't know, dude. It's something that gets me fired up and frustrated because I don't trust my government. I hate them because everything they do is corrupt to the core. And the couple, maybe handful of solid candidates that we have that are on Capitol Hill, there's nothing they can really do because they're just outnumbered by the clowns.
Let's name them by name. You only get one. Anthony, name one person on Capitol Hill that's actually fighting the fight for it. There's a lot.
I think all of us would say Massey.
First one.
Thomas Massey?
Yeah, awesome.
We got Thomas Massey. Yeah. Jared, name another.
Chip Roy
fighting the fight. I am totally down with that. Thomas Massey was going to be mine as well. There's a few, and I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but the hard truth is...
No, you got to give us the name too.
Here's the funny thing. Lauren Boebert went through a lot in her personal life, but she has done things, and you talked to me about this last night and really spelled out some things that she has done behind the scenes that has really fought the fight for us and gun rights. And she's a bulldog in that one area, though she's a dumpster fire in others, my personal opinion. But I think Boebert's done some pretty good things.
Jordan's good. When he's in committees with gun rights stuff, he's always first to call people out. Yeah.
Can we vote ourselves out of this mess?
No.
Well, can we vote ourselves out of it all at once? Absolutely not. But can more Americans voting in mass, showing up, start to chip away at the machine? Absolutely. Do we need that to happen to have any chance of getting out of this without a total forced reset? Yes, we do. Can we do it without America getting involved? I don't think we can.
I think we can do it without a forced reset, but I think pure vote alone, you're putting a lot of faith that your vote counts the way that it always has traditionally, and we've seen plenty of things.
Well, we can just go back to paper votes. I mean, it worked forever.
That's what I mean. There has to be some other restructuring.
Yeah. In person,
Of
one
the
vote
system.
per person.
Yeah,
maybe?
and also candidates. Like, how does voting matter if the candidates suck to start with?
Speaking of, it's almost runoff time for Brandon Herrera.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for people that aren't following that, one of us, a YouTuber, is running in Texas's 24th.
Texas 23.
Texas 23. He's running in a runoff against Tony Gonzalez, and that's pretty exciting. And it's somebody that is relentless on Second Amendment rights. And he ran in the primary on Super Tuesday, did not lose in a runoff today against a rhino Republican who is anti-gun, and at least in my opinion. And Brandon, so shout out to Brandon. I hope, I'm good days ahead. Something Brandon said that I really like. He told us when on this show, he's like, guys, even if I lose in the runoff,
It's a win.
this makes Tony Gonzalez a better representative because he's got fear now. I think that's fantastic. Are politicians afraid anymore? I don't think they really are. Maybe in a few districts.
Yeah, a couple districts. There's a handful of districts every year that are ripe for the picking, especially when they rezone everything. That's when you see them time to get involved. But it's we definitely need better candidates. We definitely need better representation. And if you out there think that you can do a better job than some of these bobos we have, then by all means do it. Our government was supposed to be of the people, for the people, by the people, and not wait for the perfect candidate. And that's another thing I think we have lost our way on. When it comes down to voting for a representative, we need to band together as Americans first and not say, well, I don't like this person because of the t-shirt they wear, so I'll never vote for them.
Yeah.
We need to get off our high horse. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate.
There's no perfect person.
No, there isn't. There was one perfect person, and he's no longer with us. But to think that a candidate is going to be perfect, you're out of your mind. So let's get that.
And you hit me. We were talking one night out having a cigar in back home in Johnson City, and you said something. We were talking about kicking around ideas. What if you ran? What if you ran for this? What if I ran? And I went, hey, I'm not running for public office. And some of y'all will identify with this. Too many skeletons in the closet. Holy moly! And you pushed back on me. What'd you say?
Everybody has skeletons in the closet. Every single person has a skeleton. If you have a skeleton, it makes you more likable because you've messed up just like everybody else out there has, and they'll relate to you. You know what? Own it. If you've rectified the problem, own that too, because you owned up. You were an adult. You were a man or a woman, and you made yourself better. And I think more people will find that likable for a candidate rather than to hide it and never mention it. And then when it comes out, you say something like, "Well, I didn't inhale."
I did not inhale.
I'll take it under advisement. The idea of me running for office, that is hysterical. But I think
Governor brag.
Yeah, we'll see.
Governor.
I think this. We've come to the point where we say, okay, I don't know if we're about to light off in the streets. Jared, you said it really well that okay, maybe we're probably closer than we've ever been. I don't think we're all that close until people miss meals, and I'd follow by the 9 meal rule implicitly.
Yeah.
If you miss 9 meals, you're going to sharpen a stick and go stab your neighbor. That's inarguable in human history. I don't think we're there until we start missing meals. I know some people are hungry,
But are people who can't afford meals starting to miss them?
that's what I was getting ready to say is that there are some people that are feeling that.
We have Red Lobster filing for bankruptcy. People are going hungry.
Cheese biscuits, yeah, that's a problem. But people are standing in line. We went to a restaurant last night, and people are standing in line in the lobby to line up to eat because it's so crowded. So I think a lot of folks are not feeling the pinch yet. However, we can agree that we're probably a little closer than we've ever been. Assuming that's right, that we're closer to things lighting off in the street, what can we do in our homes, in our apartments, in our condos to get ready, Jared?
Food. Buy freedom seeds and train. Get medical.
So you're saying food, freedom seeds, that's
Freedom
bullets
seeds,
for the
bullets.
Uninitiated,
Train
and train and practice.
and medical stuff. If you have ailments that you need pills, inhalers, whatever, anti-diuretics, stock up.
Anthony, back during we did I'm not a prepper.
I'm not a prepper
I'm not a
episode.
prepper episode. What's one thing that you said? There's just we're talking common sense. We're not talking about crazy. We're not getting a ham radio and dialing it in and talking to other Vietnam vets about the government bureaucracy. Just for us regular guys, 3 large men in dark t-shirts in a real world, what is something that you can do in California just in case?
I don't want to echo really anything Jared said because I think those are all good things. So I think community. I think a lot of people, especially in states like I live, and I'll be honest, I'm not super great at this because I have a hard time seeing eye to eye with a lot of people. Even though I live in a fairly red area of California, there's still not necessarily a ton of people that are rooty tooty, point and shooty, freedom lovers like me, diehards, which mesh into Tennessee, like just nothing. Like I came from here. So it's hard. But I think community is a big thing. You're not going to take on the government by yourself.
No.
A one-man army has never beat a nation like the U.S., so community is a big deal. In whatever form that takes, I think, and I was reflecting on this a little bit in my own personal life with the whole, COVID thing. When that kicked off, one of the big things that the state, I think, wanted to do was remove people from their basic and necessary communities like the church by shutting down churches, not letting
Shut down churches, did not shut down strip clubs.
Yep. Shut down taverns and bar rooms because historically, where did we go?
Yep.
Ton Tavern. Yep.
So I think people
Green Dragon.
tying back into those traditional communities that maybe of individuals that are like-minded. And so going to those more, going to small groups, trying to find your little community. So when something does, God forbid, pop off, it's not just you, your wife, and your kids in your home trying to take on the federal government or the state.
I think that's really important. The friend of ours that I mentioned that's ready for it to light off, something that he really drilled into me was the need for communication. They're going to shut cell phones down instantly. We lost almost all social media on Super Tuesday. We know that when something or if something lights off, cell phones are gone. Yeah. Now, how are you going to talk to your daughter? How are you going to talk to your wife? How are you going to find each other? And so our friend just talks nothing crazy, but just a little bit about how to have some 2, 3, 4 mile radius comms and have a social group. For me, and we're not talking here about crazy prepping stuff. Somebody said the other day to me, they said most people who prepare wrong because rice and beans are cheap. Most of the companies that do preparation and sell boxes and bags and 5-gallon drums, they're selling carbohydrates because they're so cheap, and the profit margin on those are crazy. And somebody told me, they said, Johnny, it's wrong. You should only be storing protein and nothing else because the carbs are going to be easy to find down the road. I don't know. I don't want to have a nutrition idea. One thing I've been doing is I've just been buying more packs of salmon and tuna and cans of chicken, a little bit more. The other thing, and I love what you're talking about, medicine. I'm buying more contacts so I'll be able to see during the apocalypse because that might be nice. And then soap. Somebody told me, they say, hey, Johnny, just have a little extra soap at the house, antiseptics and some alcohol, some basic Band-Aid, nothing crazy. You mentioned medical, but soap, just so we can wash our hands and clean things and nothing crazy. I don't want to live in a bunker. I would rather go be with Jesus than live in a bunker.
And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I mean, obviously we're in this community and we buy firearms and we do a little bit of prepping here and there.
Bought another one today.
Oh, this is great. This is so good, Anthony. All right. So we're over there in that room sitting on the couch earlier today, and Genius over here, it's a great gun. It's a great gun. I'm wanting one also. Actually, we both put our
Did you buy a Keltec?
He did not.
Top 2000.
Yeah,
I bought 2 DCAs after that conversation. So
literally. So he gets our dealer, our FFL, he was supposed to get 2 of them. He only had 1. And I was like, Jared, you just take it. I'll get mine later. And you said, okay, verbally, he's like, I'll take the gun. Great. And he looks at me and he goes, is it optics ready? I'm like, you just spent that much money on a gun and you don't even know if it's optics ready? To your point, we love buying stuff.
Yeah, we love buying stuff. Yeah. I mean, but I think the longer short of what I was going to say is I think people romanticize what it would look like if things were to kick off just too much from watching way too much Walking Dead. Everybody thinks that they're going to, everybody thinks that they're going to be Daryl from The Walking Dead.
They're not.
They're not. I personally, I mean, I walk a lot because of the program I'm on right now, but when I walk 12,000 steps a day, I'm tired at the end of the day.
Panting dead.
Yeah, I will be the panting dead. And a lot of people think, something kicks off, I'm going to be throwing all this super expensive, plate carrier and all this stuff into my 4Runner. I'm going up to the mountains. I mean, the roads are going to be blocked.
Nobody's going to the mountains. They just my entire
Have you ever
life.
spent time in the mountains?
No, it's wet and it's uncomfortable. People where I live, they're always because we can
I'm
see
staying in my
mountains.
home.
Everybody's going to go where you're what is familiar. That's what you go to, and everybody's like, I'm going to go to the mountains and eat berries. Berries are in season 11 days a year, and you're going to get the squirts from them. And we're going
And
to.
this is not picking on anybody, but just you have to be realistic. Like, be real with yourself where you're at.
Well, some of the neighborhoods we cut through coming here this afternoon, there are people in the mountains who are ready because they live there.
Yeah.
They're ready.
But for people who are living in downtown Nashville, y'all ain't running to no mountain.
There's
and
no
doing
mountains
well.
to run to, and like I'm going to skin a squirrel. The deer where I live in the East Tennessee, if it was to light off, the deer would be annihilated in about 6 weeks, and they'd all be eaten for the ones that can get out there because there are individuals that can get to them, and it's going to be something other than running to the mountains. We're going to stay, to your point, in our homes where we are, where we know, because a lot of folks have moms and dads and grannies and granddaddies that are not mobile. The three of us are not totally young, but we're a lot younger than a lot of people, and even we're not going to the mountains. What are we going to do? We're going to stay where we're at. So where does that leave us?
Don't piss off your neighbor, first off, because you'll be his target.
I had a friend of mine who we hear this, it's a meme. We actually hear people say this. He said it to my face. He said, Johnny, if it lights off, I'm coming to your house. Not happening. I told him, I said, I'm not being a tough guy. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I said, dude, you'll be the first body in the driveway. And he goes, what? I said, I'm dead serious. You'll be shot in the face. And I'm not being a tough guy. But people have that mentality. I'm going to go to your house.
We saw it during COVID. How many, I don't know about you guys, but me being in California, the amount of family members and friends that I said that came to me and asking, hey, can I borrow a gun? Because they knew, I'm the gun guy. Mm-hmm. Can I borrow a gun?
I thought you were the armed scholar.
I am.
Okay.
But the gun guy. That's good. I didn't catch that.
Like that? Yeah.
But yeah, it's these people think that, I don't have to do anything myself. I'm going to go to this guy who maybe is, no, I'm worried about myself, my family. And maybe, like I said, I already have a community built in of guys that are like-minded where we have a strategy built in together. But I'm not going to let I guess not Joe Schmo because you know the guy, but
I know him a lot. I know him very well, but he voted for Biden.
Well, you're a liability, so I'm just supposed to take you on. I'm not the federal government. The federal government got us into this situation. You want me to just take you in?
If he had a viable
feed
womb,
you and protect you, and
if he had skills and a viable womb,
Exactly.
maybe so we could repopulate the earth together. Hello,
that's exactly
I
what you
believe
go
in
to.
miracles.
If he had a womb,
If he had a viable womb,
Automatically goes to I'm last man on earth. I'm repopulating this. What do you
not against
offer
it.
me, sir?
I am not against the idea. But what does he bring?
It's
ma'am.
It is, ma'am. But what does he bring? What does he bring me? He brings me absolutely nothing. Plus, he voted for Biden, and I'm like, dude, back to the street. Not that I'm a tough guy. I mean, I don't think I'm going to survive long in the apocalypse, but I'm going to survive longer than an hour.
I'm going to be struggling to keep myself and my family alive. I'm not going to take on all you and your problems.
I think we all should. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do it. But I think maybe this summer, during the hottest part of the summer, if we really want to do apocalypse training, go to our main breaker, circuit breaker in our house, flip the main breaker off,
Oh, no more AC.
and just hang out for about, 3 weeks. And when you start seeing mold grow on the side of your walls in your house from the lack of air, and because we're comfortable, and you're all of a sudden realize, it's great. And now I have this can of beans. How do I open it without my electric can opener? B, how do I heat it up? How do I salt it? And how do I survive? And now you're dealing with less sleep. You're cranky. You may not have the medicine that you need. You may not have the normal dopamine drop that you're getting from TikTok and Instagram. And now everything gets turned on its ear. I have people regularly that's like, I'm a survivor, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, go in your backyard and hang out for 3 weeks. Just be exposed to that in any time of the year. You can freeze to death in the middle of the winter after a thunderstorm at 2 a.m. You can freeze to death.
I think that's a good point. Everybody, at least a lot of people, when I talk to about this, they, again, romanticize, like, it's going to be the best case scenario. For California, a lot of these guys are thinking, it's 70 sunny. I'm just going to go up to the mountains. What if we're in the winter and it's snowing up there and you've never actually camped in the snow? What if in my area, it gets to about 110 to 115 straight for three months?
Oof, why?
Yeah. you're going to dehydrate within 3 days.
The elements
These people
ain't
have
no
never
joke.
been out there. And
They're
you
no
think
joke.
that you're going to be clearing houses and raiding people. You're going to be dead in 3 days because you didn't even have enough water in your house because you are just so used to going down to Walmart and grabbing some bottles of water. Those bottles of waters are going to be gone in the first 3 hours. I mean, we saw what happened during COVID. I mean, I remember going to Costco and people are fighting over toilet paper and eggs and milk. Like they have to have this eggs and milk that's going to go bad if something in 3 days, if something goes wrong and all the electricity goes off. So I don't know. Be a little bit realistic with yourself.
Get some chickens.
Get some chicken.
That's a viable thing. Like a lot of folks are switching to chickens. I was watching some videos the other day about the beauty of raising quail because they're quiet. Chickens are very loud. Quail are smaller, but they produce more eggs and they are healthier, like 30% healthier, more nutrients per pound of meat. Takes a lot of quail. But people are switching back to the old ways. And I think that's a big movement. Y'all follow Instagram enough to see all the homesteaders, people that are trying to go back and be what we talked about at the very beginning, self-sufficient. You and I both live in populated neighborhood areas. Anthony, I'm not seeing your place in California. I assume you're living in a
Mansion.
in a California mansion.
Yeah, no, not
But
with
you're
California
around-
prices.
You're not living on a homestead.
No.
So the three of us are living around other people. What's something we can do within reality to live in a way where we might be a little more self-sufficient? Jared?
That's a good question, man. Like, you have to totally change your way of life. And especially if a family, it's even harder.
But I don't want to live off the grid. I like air conditioner.
Yeah, you can't really live off the grid without the government
Have
coming
you
after you
tried
too.
running water?
Yeah,
It is not underrated.
nor our bathrooms.
I like to be
Hot
clean.
water. Hot showers.
I guess if people like really are serious, like a buddy of mine, James Yeager, he used to go out into the woods, and I thought he was crazy, but he would just go test his gear. He would go out and stay for a weekend in the woods and test his gear, and it didn't matter the weather. He didn't wait for a great window of weather. He would go out and get rained on or snowed on, cold, hot, didn't matter, to test his gear. And that was something I always thought was very, very commendable because not a lot of people do that.
I think it was on this episode we were talking, or maybe it was with Reed Hendricks out at Battle Ridge last week. We were talking how funny it is. There'll be days where we're supposed to go to the range and train and practice, and I'll call you and say, "Hey, we did this about a month ago. Hey, it's raining today.
Nah.
Nah, I'm going to stay home." We won't even go train because it's sprinkling outside. Anthony, are we too comfortable?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a city boy for the most part. I mean, I would love to live in an area like this, but it's just not really what California offers unless you want to go up to the Sierras and all that. But
What am I supposed to stay here? You can move to Tennessee.
yeah,
It's an option.
that's why I'm here. No, I'm just,
But I mean, even though we're out in the country right now, and the
we're actually
cicadas.
doing another podcast tomorrow, and stay tuned for that. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
we're going to be out in the middle of nowhere, but it'll be fun to get out a little bit away. But even out here where we're at, we're kind of in the country. There's barns all around us. We have Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
hot water. We have a paved road right there. We are not exactly exposed to the elements.
Yeah, you have space, so it's hard for a lot of suburban areas in California, unless you're in a very. I'm in an ag area, but a lot of the ag areas again taken up by ag and dairies and farms, and then the rest is subdivision. So, like, there is a movement with a lot of rural people doing the chicken thing. My sister, she started raising chickens on her little house. And they started a garden and those things, and they are learning from scratch. But I guess the hard thing with that is, will you be able to maintain that? And I feel like sometimes it's kind of like glamping. Like a lot of these new people are kind of glamping, and it's helping them feel good about the situation that's going on right now. Well, I'll have some chickens and that will make some eggs and all this garden. But if things go really, really sideways, will you be able to maintain that, still take care of the
Yeah, you're
chickens?
still gonna feed the chickens.
And like Johnny said, I hadn't actually thought about that. And whoever told you that, that's a great point. If you have a rooster, and it's going off every single morning, you're telling everybody else in the neighborhood, like, hey,
Meat
over there.
Meat.
Not just that, he interrupts my sleep when my shoot is
Yeah, they are obnoxious. And that is part of it, is the day-to-day life with a chicken. The chickens are very loud.
And you got this chicken coop in this suburban area, and people are hungry. There's 17 houses around you of 17 different families, and
Fresh meat.
it's the same mealtime to everybody.
Yeah.
And so in that point, are you willing to defend? You would defend for
Is
those
your
chickens?
life worth that rooster's life?
Maybe you can use
How
those
hungry are you?
Yeah,
I mean,
depends
that's really the thing. How hungry are you? How hungry is everybody else? How
bait them in for gear.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by blackoutcoffee.com. I start my day every day with blackoutcoffee.com, whether you want ground, whole bean, or the K-Cups. Jared, what's your favorite flavor currently?
Carrot cake yesterday was, I
I
tried.
haven't had the carrot cake.
It's good. If you like carrot cake, it's good. Some people are like, ooh, carrot cake. It's pretty good though.
Anthony, you're still on the Morning Reaper?
1776, but blueberry crumble. I'm going to try that for
Yes.
Blueberry crumble. Yeah, we have that in the counter in there. Hey, if you want to save, there's a coupon code right there on the screen, and use the link blackoutcoffee.com/liberty to save off your first order. Big thank you to the folks at blackoutcoffee.com. Jared, we were talking earlier today on a different show on my channel a little bit about this idea, and this is going to hurt Anthony. It hurts me. It hurts Jared. I know it's going to hurt you. It hurts all of us. That a lot of folks don't want to prepare. And by prepare, again, for the third time, I'm not talking about wearing Vietnam fatigues or stacking up 74 years of food, but just being a little better than we are today. A lot of folks, and you mentioned the word feelings. We have feelings glamping where I don't know what to do, so I'm going to plant a garden. My sister hollered at me a few months ago and she said, Johnny, this is bad out there. Should we plant a garden? And I said, my sister, I said her name. I said, listen, the only thing in gardens are vegetables because that's what a garden is. And there's very little protein unless you're doing some beans. You need protein, not carbohydrates that come in tomatoes. And she goes, oh. And she said, should I just die during the apocalypse? I said, yeah, probably. Probably we all are. Likely.
Yeah.
But we have feelings and that's scary. And we don't want to, she's going to plant the garden and we don't know what to do. So many folks have these feelings. Guys are proactive. We tend to be proactive. And what do? We go buy more gear, better guns, more ammo. No training, no practicing. Jared, have you been guilty of buying more stuff based on feelings?
Yeah, I bought a new one today because it felt wonderful.
that dopamine hit.
Yeah, it is.
There is
optics ready.
that gun dopamine hit.
For everybody who's probably saying, well, which one is it? It was the Shadow 2 Compact.
Shadow 2 Compact from CZ. You don't even know what color it is yet, but it is optics ready.
Yeah, it's good to go. We've all been guilty of it, and everybody listening has been guilty of it. It might not be buying a new gun, but we've all bought something that we maybe really didn't need. There's a difference between want and need, where we could have maybe used those funds to better ourselves individually.
Anthony, you done emotional purchases on the firearms?
Oh yeah. Firearms, ammo, gear, you name it. There's definitely been a lot of emotional, just panic buying, I guess you can say, but just to help you feel better about that situation.
It's about feelings, isn't it?
It is about feelings. And I think it is interesting to really think about how much our community invests, not just in gear, but hard skills. There are a lot of amazing trainers out there who have a hard time filling their courses. Yep. But there are a lot of gun companies who have no problem selling firearms. They'll sell firearms by the millions during a day, but these amazing trainers can't get a full course. There are so many amazing firearms trainers out there that I've had conversations with who will not come to California, not just because of the laws that we have in place, but they can't fill classes. They can't fill a class of 15 guys to do this 2-day training course. Yeah. Teach people how to shoot their red dots that they bought, or how to become better with their handgun, or actually manipulate the rifle and do reloads. And I've seen guys, and maybe you guys can speak on this too, because I know we all do a lot of training courses, probably not as many as I should do, but I've gone to plenty of training courses, and I will see guys who clearly have invested thousands of dollars into their gear. But the first time you see them try to do a handgun reload or an AR reload, you can tell that they've never put time in dry firing or actual training, which is fine. Everybody starts somewhere. But maybe, and we talked a little bit about this the last episode, maybe instead of putting the $10,000 into all this gear and looking good, Gucci, and being Instagram ready and posting your pictures on Instagram, maybe spend $5,000 on gear and take the $1,000, put in some ammo, put the other $1,000, do a course.
But you don't get that dopamine hit from that.
I don't know. Maybe not the instant gratification, but I don't know about you guys. When I get done with like a 2-day training course, I feel good about myself. The same way you feel about, maybe it's the gym thing. I was gonna say it feels the same way about a gym. But nobody really wants to work out. I mean, obviously I still need to work out a lot, but everybody knows that you don't really want to go to the gym, but you never regret going to the gym. When you walk out and the actual dopamine hits and you feel good about yourself, I feel like maybe that's the same thing with training. And maybe there's a little bit of fear. I know some guys are maybe afraid of, I bought all this gear, but now I got to obtain these hard skills. And maybe I don't want to look like a beginner when I go to this training course. But if you're going to a credible course, these trainers want beginners. They want to bring you along with the journey. They want to help you get better. So I think we need to really invest in hard skills more as a community.
Yeah, we did a class last year, a pistol class with Reed at Valor Ridge, and one of our fellow classmates was a woman who literally just bought the gun.
Brand new box of ammo,
first
a new
gun.
holster, and
awesome.
a new gun.
Yeah.
Very first day. And next to her was me and you. And you've got more experience than I have, but I'm a mid-level. You've trained for years. You're an instructor, all that. And then beyond her was guys that have been in either the military, several military guys, a couple Marines, and a couple law enforcement guys of like 40 years. And she's in the middle of it with us. And she did awesome.
Yeah.
She worked hard the first day to get on torso paper at 4 or 5 yards, just to get on the paper. And she did it.
Yeah, and then by the end of the class, she was by far the most improved, and she was shooting some better groups than some of the people who had years and years of training.
And that's another misconception I think you guys, you've just alluded to. When you go to some of these training courses, there's plenty of times I've also gone when there's LEO or ex-military Army guys. And just because you have that professional background doesn't mean you're an amazing shooter. Some of these people just qualify once every quarter.
Well, it's a perishable skill. Like there is no, you say acquire hard skills. In my mind, I hear acquire temporarily hard skills. I was out at Thunder Ranch. We were doing a training day, and we were doing some mid-range stuff. It's a training week, and where it's an entire week of laying down and shooting between 200 and 700 yards for the entire week. Next to me online for a whole week was a battalion ranger. He wasn't just ranger qualified, but he was actually at the battalion. This is all he does. He feeds his kids by doing battalion ranger crap, and he was amazing. And I turned to him, and this was a brand new beginner mid-range class. And I turned to him and I said, Ryan, why are you here? Because he's just, ping, 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 like just nailing the targets. He was amazing. When it was my turn to shoot, there's this long pause. I'm double checking everything. Ping. And then I finally get it right. And he's high speed. And he said, Johnny, it's a perishable skill. He said, when I get back in my car to go home, I'm losing these skills immediately. And I think that we get that dopamine hit from walking away from training, but we have to remind ourselves that it is perishable. And we're all getting worse. I can hear less than I can have ever heard. I can see worse than I've ever seen. I am tired at the end of the day, but I'm not ready to be done. Back to the voting thing, and I'm going to tie these two together. You said, okay, can we vote ourselves out of this? Maybe not, but it's not time to give up. I have viewers that tell me, well, America's done. And I'm like, no, I'm not willing to give it up. We may head into blood in the streets. I may be deafer and more hurt and on more ibuprofen than my entire life, but I'm not done. Anthony, are you done? Are you ready to fight for this country? Perishable skills, trying to pack protein into the house, buying your soap or whatever it is. Are you ready to just give up and give it to the communists?
No, and I don't necessarily agree with the concept of America is done. Like maybe
But you see it in your viewers in the comments. They say it all the
and
time.
I guess I'm thinking like conceptually, people who just say like, oh, it's done. You know, America was built on concepts. It's not the federal government. Just because the federal government and these certain structures fall apart, you know, America, when it was formed, didn't look like what it looks like now. No. It didn't have as many states as it did now. It definitely didn't have the federal government and the structures that it has now.
Or the Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve and all that stuff. So America more is the concept. It's a belief system. So as long as we have, I guess it's kind of a weird hard fail. As long as we have amazing patriots that believe in those concepts, are willing to fight and die for them, and then also just help to continue that on and pass it on to the next generation. America isn't done. Will things get ugly to help protect those concepts? Maybe. I don't know if we're necessarily right there. We've talked about a lot of big things that are currently going on and in recent history have happened. And we haven't seen that drastic tipping point. So I guess that's why I was like, we're at what scale? Does something have to happen before we see this drastic tipping point? So I don't think America's done. What do you think, Johnny?
I don't know. I see it in my comment. Like so many guys are just like, well, until Jesus comes back, we're done. And I'm like, okay, I'm a Christian, not a very good one.
That's also an interesting point. I mean, I know we don't get into religion, but I think
But I am a Christian. Like I can't sit here at
and
this table and not be one. I cuss too much.
But
I
even
cuss way too
that,
much.
that's and I would implore everybody, I'm not going to get on a pulpit and preach, but
Hallelujah, brother.
look at your eschatology.
What does that fancy word mean?
And the belief of end times
end time
and things like
studies?
that.
Okay.
So and this might be a shock to a lot of people because maybe you just watched the, what is that movie that
Lord of the Rings?
No, you know what I'm talking about, Johnny? The end times movies that went around for a long time, a really big
Left Behind
series. You might have been sucked into that eschatology. Again, I'm not preaching to you guys, but there are different eschatologies, beliefs about the end times based on, biblical text, what Jesus said and some of the other prophets said. And Jesus is, people get mad I said prophet. I'm not saying Jesus was just a prophet, but
don't type. We know you're already typing. We're not going to argue.
Yeah.
I know your point though.
Yeah.
The point is that there is a lens you're looking through.
There is a specific eschatology lens you are looking through when you make those statements like we're already in the end times, just rapture me up. won't have to deal with all that. Understand, do some research on your own, become educated. That's another hard skill or skill you need to obtain. How many people are reading books, becoming useful, like you said, for if the end times come?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge for me. I've said this before, and you've heard me say this before, Jared, 23 times. It's hard for me to be a Christian in 2024. It's hard for me to go to downtown Johnson City and deal with the homeless. And I think that's the right word, deal with them. Like I had to move my studio. Last year in 2023, I moved my studio away from downtown because it was getting harder and harder for me to get to my front door, even in sweet little Johnson City, Tennessee. And as a Christian, I'm like, I need to stop and help. But then as a human, I'm like, get the heck out of my way.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. That's my sidewalk. And I'm like, get a job, you bum. And so it's hard. It's this duality and it's a challenge. But I think we feel that in our own way. Jared, you're a tough guy. You're a fighter, not a lover.
He's a softie.
He is a softie, but he's a soft fighter. But then you wear one hat where you're the tough guy because you're ready to. This is how big of a tough guy this guy is. And he was dead. This came out of his heart, like this out of his heart, out of his soul. Last week, we were talking about the cicada invasion that was coming. And Jared's never been through a cicada invasion. If y'all aren't from this part of the country, it is very loud out there. Cicadas hit every 7 years and like 11 years or whatever. But this year is a double year. And we've got all the cicadas this year.
Double whammy.
And like 2 weeks ago, you were like, when are the cicadas coming? And I was like, I don't know, next week. You're like, how do I fight them off my lawn? And you were going to fight the cicada invasion. It's so sweet.
I'm burning them.
It's so sweet that you're that tough.
Flamethrower.
So you're a tough guy. But also you're a dad and you wear a different hat. And sometimes we have to be provider. Sometimes we have to be protector. Sometimes we have to be a preserver and build our stores up. And sometimes we have to train and to prepare. So is it tough today to wear these different hats, to stack bullets, to prepare, but also to be, to your point, to be a Christian and to have these feelings and these lenses? Do you find this duality in these hats that you wear?
Yeah, I mean it's tough because I'm one of those people who believe that if it ever comes to it, I will fight for the freedom of this country. All right, believe what you want, but I've already had that conversation with several people and Jesus. So I would be one of those people who would fight, but I also need to grow positive influences on this country in my children, and it's tough to do both. Because when you go too far down one of those two roads, you lose something on the other side, if it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, but like I to the point earlier, I don't think America's done because we have an armed populace. And as long as we have freedom-loving Americans who have the individual right to keep and bear arms, we have a centralized government that is afraid of that, which is why they try to chip away and chip away and chip away so that they can do whatever they need to do, and people like me can't fight. It is tough wearing both hats. It is tough being a lover and a fighter, in your words. But It's something we all have to do in order to be better
don't
people.
want that. People don't want that. Like, I really believe this, that we, and I live in the tension. Like, I can be pissed off at Donald J. Trump over what he did with bump stocks, but on the other hand, freaking love his gas prices, and I love his trade deal with China.
I love his
and
tweets.
I love his tweets, and I think his hair is kind of fun.
And I'll
like,
vote for him again.
yeah, like, I feel this duality. I reserve the right to be pissed off at every politician, including Donald J. I live in the tension, but a lot of folks that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially in the comment section, they are all one direction. America stinks. We need blood in the street. I am of this duality. Yeah, I think things are bad, but I'm not willing to give up. I'm pissed off at politicians, and I don't think we can vote our way out of this, but it doesn't mean I'm going to vote. I think if anything, this episode is about this duality and this tension. Anthony, do you feel this tension in your day-to-day life?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially where I'm at, and I feel, I mean, even just being here, the second I step off the plane into a free state, I feel that pull more than anything. A lot of people left California because they're done. Kind of that same mindset. There is no saving California. I'm out of here. It's a done deal.
Don't ruin the free states voting for California stuff.
Yeah, if you leave, I mean, those people who will like move to Austin or Nashville and vote the same way because for whatever reason, even though those
Vote blue no matter who.
Free stuff.
but it ruined the state of California, and now they're fleeing to other states. So I feel that pull. I'm not quite yet done to give up on California. I will
So
maybe
glutton
one day
for punishment. This
glutton for punishment. But I mean, if not me, then who? You know, who's going to stay and continue to try to do the good thing in California?
I'm glad you said that because when I moved from Mass, I got a ton of flack from a small, very small group of people.
Vocal, though, a vocal group.
But my, and I'll say it now, and I'll say it loud and proud. Where were you when those people who were trying to fight and change Massachusetts were doing what they did at the state house or trying to get people motivated? Where were they? Where were they when some people were holding events with politicians that were trying to educate people to get people involved? Where were they? They weren't there. So the people who were doing it had no support.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's in every blue state. That's the case. The people who want to make an effect or effectuate a change, they don't get support. And it's tough for people to just sit around and watch Rome burn.
Yeah, and anybody, and we've talked about it a lot, anybody who gives you shit for leaving Massachusetts, I'm not on board with them. I was one of your biggest supporters when you said I'm moving to Tennessee. That's awesome. It's all comes down to a personal choice. Obviously, I'm younger, you know.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah, obviously. Look at this. It's got hair. Look at this hair. You know, I have enough hair for both of you right now. Amazing, right?
Can you grow one of these yet?
Yeah, actually I can. I get a lot of crap for not shaving enough. I grow a 5 o'clock shadow 30 minutes after shaving. People hate me. But I was your biggest supporter when you left. And I think it all comes down to a personal choice. I mean, I don't have a family yet. So the politics of California isn't impacting my children. You obviously have a lot of kids, and it was impacting your.
That's why I left.
Yeah.
I got to take care of my kids' future.
When I have kids, and maybe when it's time for them to go to school and stuff, I'll make the same choice because I'm not letting the California politics infect my children's beliefs. It's just not going to happen. If I'm able to homeschool, I'll probably homeschool. I went to an amazing private school when I was in high school, but even sometimes politics bleed into that stuff, even though it was a Christian school. Even that concept of Christianity and things is malleable now based on what's going on in the political world. So I'm not done yet in California. A lot of that comes down to family and other ties. But when I leave, I'm sure I'll still get a lot of crap too, no matter what. There's always a vocal minority. But I will leave California knowing I gave my absolute all to try to help California. And if anybody faults you for wanting to be free and enjoy freedoms, and
guy's a named plaintiff on a lawsuit versus California. So if anybody gives them flack, they don't know.
I've helped file lawsuits against the state of California.
Yeah.
I mean, I've raised thousands of dollars for state of California gun rights groups. I'm on board.
And
of
yet,
California gun
if you were to ever choose to leave, people would be pissed off at you
Yeah,
and
it's
say,
just-
"Why are you leaving?"
Obviously, it's the internet too. So
It's their dopamine, man. People get their dopamine by complaining online because
I love complaining online, though. I do. I was on Instagram. I was laying there in the bed
we
this
all
morning.
do it. So I don't fault anybody. We all do it. Like,
Firing away this morning at somebody on Instagram, somebody I didn't even know was on a cooking channel, and I was just like, bang, 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 and that dopamine was hitting. We do it.
yeah.
that's not a proper way to fricassee.
I mean, we.
Fricassee. What does that even mean?
I mean, we all do it. I mean, even in the gun world, I know we complain a lot about people who complain or gun snobs. I mean, we even had some people on the last video call us gun snobs because we said Arrow was budget. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Arrow is budget. I'm sorry.
People didn't like that we said the Arrow's a budget.
Yeah,
Arrow's a Honda Civic.
I mean, yeah. And I would
I think that's a perfect that we said Arrow's a Honda Civic.
But to some people, it's not. I mean,
what do they want? A Mitsubishi? Like, what do they want? Like an 03 Hyundai?
I mean, and it's, I understand because not everybody's budget is the same way our budget is.
Yeah, but Arrow, that's basic bottom line of good stuff.
And I kind of get,
but it's good stuff. People won't hear that. They'll hear basic bottom line, but they won't hear good
all
stuff.
They hear is you're not giving me accolades for what I've already purchased. Those guys, I guarantee they already have hot garbage in their safes and they're mad that we're disrespecting their Palmetto State Armory.
Yeah. Possibly. Yeah. I mean, everybody has their confirmation bias. We all know we're in the gun world.
100%.
We know in the gun world that a lot of people who watch, and we have all the friends in the gun review lane. You name them, we know them personally. And we talked about their content. And we talked to them about their content and the comments and their analytics. Most of the people watching gun reviews have already bought that firearm, and they just want that reviewer to confirm that their purchase was good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of that at play. The interesting thing, which I've reflected on a lot too, with like the Arrows and their prices definitely are going up.
Yeah, they are.
So, the same thing with Sons of Liberty. At one point, I would consider Sons of Liberty was kind of that tweener between Arrow and some, but now they're
the bottom of the upper level.
Now their prices have jumped to a point where,
thanks to Biden, everything's going up.
Yeah. I mean, and that is at play as well. But it's also, as any company grows in brand recognition, their prices get driven up.
Yeah, you pay that tax.
But the reality too with Arrow, though, if you find some of their blem sales, you're still getting super, super cheap price points, but for quality firearms. But I mean, the whole point of that last episode is, if something were to pop off like we're talking about now, am I grabbing my Arrow or am I grabbing my BCM, Daniel, Radian?
I think you're grabbing the one that you trust, that you've worked with the most.
Yeah, and I'm choosing the one that I know is gonna handle its business no matter what it's getting thrown at.
That is perfect, because that was going to be my final question. We touched on this a little bit last week. We're not talking about last week. I'm going to ask you for a different answer for this one. We've talked about blood in the street today. We talked about the duality, about the potential of things popping off. We don't know what's coming, but we do know something's coming. And a friend of mine one time said, this may not be the end times, but they're your end times. This is all we got. Like this is the end of our lives.
Everybody thought every generation thinks their time is the end time.
But this is ours. Yep. This is ours. We are finite beings in an infinite world. So assuming that things were to hit the fan and you had to prepare today for it, and it can't be anything in your safe currently, you've got to either order it online or go down to the gun store and grab it. Anthony, you get one gun to go to the apocalypse in. It's nothing you own currently. One gun to go to the apocalypse. Great question for y'all today. Let us know, what's the one gun, nothing you own, something you got to go buy. I'm going to ask all three of us the same question. Anthony, what do you got? You got to buy one.
Just one.
One, that's it. That's all you get. We're not talking optics. We're not talking triggers. We're not talking add-ons and flashlights. We're talking you're going to get one out of the box.
Oh, that is such a hard question. I mean, I'm going AR. For me, obviously, I'm going to AR.
Which one?
Give me... I got to stick with my tried and true. Give me a BCM enhanced lightweight fluted barrel. Give me the barrel a short... I probably want shorter than 14.5. I want a shorter barrel. I'm throwing a suppressor on there. Probably red dot magnifier. Probably just give me an EOTech for both.
And you're riding all the way to the end times with that.
Yeah.
Jared, what do you got? One that you don't own. You're going.
Oh, it had to be one that I don't own?
Yeah, that was supposed to be. Oh. You don't know, but that's fine. I know you love that gun. It's an acceptable answer. Jared, what you got?
Can I bring anything I already have?
No, you're starting. You can buy. It's all free. It's all on the internet. You can get anything you want.
Yeah, I definitely will go with an AR platform just because it's very prevalent in this country. And if I needed to, I could probably find something to make it work if it did go down. But I'm probably going to go with the CMMG, a Daniel Defense, a BCM, a high quality gun, because somebody who feeds their kids to build that gun built it. So if I had to pick a company, I'd probably just grab a CMMG just because I have a lot of friends who I know I can get a cool looking one. And go with that.
I'm going to give you the right answer. The right answer is a 22 long rifle. I'm going to get a very small one, a very quiet one. I'm going to shoot subsonic. And to my point, which is this, I'm going to survive quietly. And I think that's the right answer. Maybe a Ruger 1022 with a 10 round magazine.
I'm curious. So what's the theory behind that for you? Because obviously you're gonna hunt small.
I'm going to get a 5.56, Anthony. I'm going to get an AR. I'm going to get a 5.56, probably a CMMG. I was trying to get something outside the box.
Like,
we have a friend. We have a mutual friend.
Taking out all them squirrels.
I mean, if everybody had the mindset, I'm the only one with an A, like an actual AR, and everybody else is 22, is like,
I'm not getting a 22.
I'm having a field day.
No, I'm not getting a 22. We have a mutual friend that he preaches the 22 because you can get that much ammo and have like 4,000 rounds, and it's cheap and it's quiet, and he is a moron.
Yeah.
The answer is a 5.56 because your neighbor. I'm okay with a 7.62. If you want to get an AK, you're going to be able to find ammo. Anything beyond that,
I think everybody maybe overstates how much 7.62 ammo is out there. I mean, there's been a little bit of issues right now.
more than 6.5 Creedmoor though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be the number two.
Yeah, that would definitely be the number two.
It's arguable.
I guess what I'm struggling with, I'm thinking of like higher end brands that I don't already have. Like if I was gonna grab a brand of AR, like I mean I don't have a CMG.
Novetzke is the right answer.
Novetzke's, I do have some of their bolt carrier groups. Those awesome, but Novetzke would probably be a good one. Like if I was gonna grab something I don't have complete, ready to go, I probably would want something ambi also. So I don't know if they have a lower like a Radian that's already ambi ready.
That Sig Sear is a badass gun.
Sig Sear is
Spear.
Didn't they have issues with some of the barrels though?
Oh, they're good to go now.
GTG. I'll tell you what's also good to go is me and this crew of guys with our mixed mashed glasses. Hey, this is the Liberty Lounge podcast. We had a great time with y'all. On behalf of these three or these other two from Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, thanks for being here. We're going to go get Jared some water so he can hydrate. Thanks for being here. See y'all soon.
Take care.